Hi everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I want to start the update um, with this presentation and let you know what's going on and who are the people that we're praying for. Then we'll do the updates. Q&A. I want to tell you a little bit about my mother's story. And I want to talk about King David and his battle against the Amalekites. I think there are all kinds of very interesting things over there, and also I'll do that with some quick virtual tour, so stay tuned. I took this picture earlier today. Compared to, let's say, a week or two ago, there's more traffic, there are more people on the streets, there are more people there are more cars, there are more people on the street, more. This is a small cafe in Jerusalem, the German colony. Nothing fancy, just unlike like a week ago or so. I can't say that life is normal, but I'm just letting you know that there is more traffic, there is more movement. Okay, so we're still processing the national trauma. There are still people that were not bodies that were not recognized yet because of the horrific atrocities, the desecration of bodies and mutilation of bodies beyond recognition. So not all the victims are even buried, and we're more than 2 weeks after the massacre that took place in October 7th. Yeah, but I'm just letting you know that this picture is just showing you how things are right now. So before the prayer, I just want to show you a few pictures and tell you a few things. Kibbutz Nir Oz near Gaza used to be a few hundreds of people, 450, and now 190. So it's like one of the kibbutzes that suffered the most. Some are kidnapped, some were killed. Really horrific. This is just one of these probably a couple of dozens of communities. These are it's part of the campaign for those who are kidnapped, especially the children. So you can see them with the strollers. I think this is in the US, I forgot where. And the left one is in Amsterdam. Goes to show you those who were kidnapped. It's a campaign for those who were kidnapped to bring them back home. It's a worldwide campaign which basically invites every community that wants to support to just simply print the photos of those who were kidnapped and initiate something wherever they live. So it's, I think, a couple of Israelis that live in America started that, if I remember correctly. So there's an ongoing campaign. Here are the faces of those who were kidnapped. For example, the Shoham family. Take a look at them. Tal and Adi, that's the parents. Naveh, which is 8 years old, and Yahel, 3 years old. Unbelievable. The Angel family, also a couple of parents and their 2 daughters. These ladies, Norit and Yocheved, are the 2 hostages that were actually released recently. So it's already 4 people that were released, and Merav Moran, she's a journalist. She wrote that I'm not sure who's she referring to, but one of them was actually driving Gazans for medical treatments in Beersheba in the south, Soroka Hospital in Beersheba. So these are the type of people that were kidnapped. Center, left, sometimes far left, kibbutzim members, the best neighbors the Gazans could pray for, let's say, in a sense, like if they were actually interested in peace. They're really the best people for that, people that really believed in the good of the human, of the people that live in Gaza, believe that they have good hearts, believe that they that the citizens are fine. Maybe they still believe that. I don't know. Maybe they do this separation between between Hamas and the community and the population of Gaza, which I'll probably talk about tomorrow. This whole, the way I see it, artificial separation, as if the leadership of Hamas and the terrorists in Hamas are completely different than the peaceful Gazans. I'll talk about it. I'll probably talk about it tomorrow or somewhere this week. But anyway, these are the two hostages that were released, Norit on the left and Yocheved. They are in their 80s. We have this, this is just one out of quite a few stories. Sorry, yeah. So this lady is from Baltimore that posted about this case. So this Alon that wanted to protect his daughters, and he was well armed, well trained. He managed to kill one of the terrorists, and the two others ran away, and that's how he managed to save his family. So this is in kibbutz called Nirim. So that's what was going on during this massacre. Civilians that were armed enough managed to fight the terrorists, and it took hours for serious forces to get into these kibbutzes, into these communities. In some cases, 7 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours, unreal. Complete failure of our army in the southern front. So this is one of our heroes, and for all of those who were kidnapped or were injured or were killed and their families, and though our brave soldiers will pray Psalm 14. למנצח לדוד אמר נבל בליבו אין אלוהים, ישחיתו התעיבו עלילה אין עושה טוב, אדוני משמיים השקיף על בני אדם, לראות היש משכיל דורש את אלוהים, הכל שר יחדיו נאלחו, אין עושה טוב, אין גם אחד, לא ידעו כל פועלי אבן, אוכלי עמי אכלו לחם, אדוני לא קראו, שם פחדו, פחד, כי אלוהים בדור צדיק, עצת עני תבישו, כי אדוני מחסהו, מי ייתן מציון ישועת ישראל, בשוב אדוני שבות עמו, יגל יעקב ישמח ישראל. So we're of course praying for our soldiers, and before we start the updates, if there are any questions, if some of you have to leave soon and wanted to express anything from prayer and just your thoughts to questions, whatever is on your mind, feel absolutely free to open the microphone or write on the chat. So let's take a minute for that. And again, just invite you to open the microphones, and then we'll continue with the updates. Okay, and so we can start with the updates maybe and move on again for another session of Q&A if you need. I'll be happy to answer. I wanted to give you a sense of the spirit of volunteering that is going on in Israel. It's something that we know of our people. People are very generous, definitely in times of stress and conflict and wars. The Israelis have a big heart, and but I'm just trying to show you how it really surrounds everything. So it's not just, okay, people volunteering for the army and then they're just waiting for the government to compensate or help or send some professionals, none of that. So over here, there's it's a friend of mine actually that started this initiative to help parents during these difficult times emotionally, and on the professional level to help them deal with their children during these stressful times. He has a bunch of coaches that will help the children as well. So it's the way they called it, Kitat Konenut Lahorim, means like Kitat Konenut means like a defending squad of a certain village, let's say. So there's the army, there's the police, but in every village there is a first emergency defense squad. These squads actually saved some of the kibbutzes down in the south during October 7th. But he does that for parents. Okay, we want to defend you emotionally. We want to help you professionally in dealing with these stressful times, and it's free of charge. So that's what you see here. The soldiers, again, more than 300,000 reservists and much more, and not much more, but more tens of thousands of the regular army. They are in the front lines or in their bases, and this is an initiative of this vegan organization that want to help vegan soldiers in the front lines to supply them with vegetarian or vegan dishes. So they also asking people to support their cause. Again, very detailed. They really want to take care of every soldier with every need. Elvin, Israel is they need more volunteers for their organization, which is an organization that supports people with disabilities in their communities. And because many of their workers or employees and volunteers basically are in reserve, they are asking other people to help them, and I'm sure people are responding to that. This is the Taub Center. It's a very, very interesting center. One of my friends actually worked there for a while. And in general, if you want to learn statistics and actual very like facts about the Israeli society, Taub Center is one of the best sources to learn about the Israeli society. Many different statistics and analysis of it. Very professional center when it comes to economy, and it's like the Pew, I guess, institution, the Pew surveys in America. It's kind of like that. Very a good resource, and now they're initiating in online sessions how Israel should deal with the social needs during war times. So there are clearly a lot of needs, different needs, not just the reservists, emotional stress, the children. How can you create a routine as much as you can during war? How can you keep an economy during war? So there's a lot of the discussions about that. Here specifically, they focus on the social needs. So they just open it as a open online session on Zoom for whoever is interested to learn about that and trying to make their own effect through this discussion. What you see here is something that is going on. I spoke about it in the past. A lot of these communities are basically farmers. They have farms, they have livestock, and there's a great need for volunteers to help in these farms. They have workers from different Asian countries. Some of them were actually killed by the terrorists on October 7th, and many others just fled from the country, and now they don't have people to work in their farms because some of them are injured, some of them are kidnapped, some of them were actually killed, and their foreign workers actually left the country. So I see that circulating a lot on social media, including my friends that are volunteering down south, helping with the cucumbers, with the tomatoes, with helping the chickens, and everything that you see here. These are all volunteers that go down south to help these farms so they won't collapse. So I just want to again share with you that the amount of manpower that is volunteering right now is unbelievable. Over here, there's kind of like a spiritual, on the spiritual level. This gentleman, his name is Guy. I don't know him in person, but he's a friend of people that I'm acquainted with. And what he's trying to do is to create this following project, that every synagogue that will be interested will embrace one name of one of the casualties of this massacre of October 7th, will embrace one soul, basically, that was taken from us, and will read the Psalms and the Kaddish for the elevation of the spirit of that of the casualties. So that's the idea, that every synagogue that will volunteer will embrace a name, will embrace the person, learn about him, commemorate him, and they will read Kaddish and Psalms in his honor. So that was circulating in our community too, and that's quite fascinating. That some people, when they try to define the Jewish people, they say these are people that have the memory of the world. Yeah, it's a community that is based on remembering a lot of things, remembering the entirety of history almost, from the creation to the empires that we dealt with, from Egypt to Syria to Babylon to Persia, etc., all the way to our days. So it's a remembering community. That's what the Jewish people are. They kind of have the memory of the world, and this is a project in that spirit. Okay. As far as the Arab Israelis, again, every now and then I'm bringing news about the Arab Israelis. I find that very, very fascinating. Some are more outspoken for Israel, like Lucy Harish on the left. She's a very, very famous journalist. She's a Muslim from the Galilee, and she's married to a Jewish man, which is very unusual. Marriage in Islam usually is that a Muslim man could marry a Jewish or Christian woman, but not the other way around, not a Muslim woman that will marry a Jewish man. I know maybe two women like that, two Muslim women that got married with a Jewish man, like in Israel. In other countries, something else. But in Israel, I only know of, I think, two, this lady and another lady. And she's very outspoken for the state of Israel and against these terror groups. So that's Lucy on the left, and on the right, it's a woman called Maisa Abdelhadi, which is an actress, quite famous actress, I must say, that posted I guess I didn't read her post, but from what I understood, she posted something that is for Hamas, praising Hamas, and she got arrested, and that's what you see here. So we do have these two things going on at the same time. Our soldiers in the front lines, I must say, are very entertaining as they're waiting for the ground attack. You can see that they are training. You can see that they have a lot of fun being with each other, and you can see that they have a lot of time to tell jokes. So these guys were telling jokes about fruits, all kinds of fruits, and which fruit is this, which fruit is that, and it's really funny, just pawns basically. But on the right side, he's saying which fruit is queer, and it says bananas. Bananas in Hebrew, it sounds like girls. Hi, girls. So that's the joke on the right side. So anyway, a lot of humor over there coming from our soldiers in the front. The girls too. So on the left, these are, I don't know these soldiers, but I know a girl that serves in their battalion, and dancing and expressing their strong will to defend the country. And on the right side, these girls in the front are telling about funny ways of the reservists, the young reservists, to kind of hit on them. So that also happens. So you can see again that on the front lines, people still keep the morale high, and just examples for that. What they were telling us, if reservists come to us and ask, let's have a drink after the war, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work on us. That's what they're actually saying here. As far as the Gazans is concerned, the situation in Gaza is dire. No shock over there, I must say. and there's no food. There's shortage of food, shortage of water. The civilians are basically are mainly in the southern part of Gaza, Rafah, Han Yunis, Rafiah, we call it. They're in the south anyway. There's shortage. They need more and more humanitarian aid, and one is asking, okay, where's your food? Where's your water? You only have rockets, basically. So this is again shows the priorities of the government of Hamas, which is really the one in charge of these civilians, and how basically the civilians in Gaza are part of their war machine. There was a video that was circulating about this gentleman. He's from Gaza, and someone looked at his TikTok and saw him praising the rockets that were launched from Hamas towards Israel on the left side. He was very happy, and later he's crying for the dire situation in Gaza. So he's just showing, look, the same guy a week apart from what happened. Like, what did they expect? That we'll just, oh, they have Israeli hostages, so Israel will just sit on its hands and do nothing. So this is just unrealistic. Yeah, this is a picture I took earlier in Jerusalem. It's the UNRWA organization. There is a man called Marcus Sheff, which he worked for the UN in I don't think he worked as a UN employee, but I think he worked for an organization that monitors the curriculum of schools in areas of conflict. And Marcus Sheff published a report, I think it was like 3 years ago maybe, about the curriculum and the books in the school system of the Palestinians, and how much incitement and calls for martyrdom there is in these books, including those of the UNRWA, meaning UNRWA is the UN Relief and Work organization for the Palestinian refugees. So this is it's a UN body, basically, funded by the taxpayers' money of many different countries, civilized countries, democratic countries, that gives it to the UN, and from the UN to their different organizations. And a call for martyrdom and a jihad basically against Jews and against Israel in these books. So I posted that earlier. I think you should learn about that, about this organization. It's the only, basically the UN has two organizations to deal with refugees. One is called the High Commissioner for Refugees, and the other one is UNRWA. So the High Commissioner for Refugees is basically in charge of all the refugees in the world in areas of conflict, which his main mandate basically is to stabilize their situation and then make sure they get, if they can't go back to their country because of the conflict, they will be sent to, they will be absorbed by the neighboring country or a third country. And what the High Commissioner is trying to do is basically to solve the humanitarian situation of specific people, individuals. What the UNRWA is doing, and that's their mandate, is to support the Palestinians, almost sustain basically to sustain them in the refugee camps until whatever solution comes. Okay, but they're not trying to get them absorbed in the hosting countries, Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, and they're not in charge of help them rehabilitate themselves and build new life in a third country. That's not their mandate, really. And it's a body that started shortly after the independence war, somewhere in 49 probably, or 50, and because of the strong bloc of Arab countries, the Arab League, more than 20 countries, the Muslim countries, 57 Muslim countries. Because of that bloc, the UN was compelled or forced kind of to keep this body. And what it basically does, the UNRWA, it keeps the conflict, it just fuels the conflict with money that belongs to democratic countries. So democratic countries with decent people and honest people are basically giving their money to an organization that keeps this volcano bubbling. The lava in this volcano is constantly heated and fueled with this organization. So I pointed out a few things. Again, Marcus Chef and their curriculum, and the other thing is just to keep this problem very much alive. The refugees, the Palestinian refugees. Again, it's not even the actual refugees. It's the third, fourth generation of these descendants of these refugees. So the High Commissioner for Refugees, it doesn't deal with the second generation. There's no second generation of refugees. It's just the first generation. They deal with that, absorb them in whatever countries, and that's it. Not in the case of the UNRWA. It's a body that actually keeps this problem very much alive, and it's a leverage of the Arab League and the Muslim countries against Israel. Okay? It's always a demographic threat over Israel. So again, it's this specific base is for the West Bank, but this body works in Gaza Strip, and the statistics, as far as I remember, at least half, if not 2/3 of the people in Gaza are defined as refugees, or they have the status of refugees or descendants of refugees, which is the same in the case of the Palestinians. The only case that it's the same, okay? No other refugees can inherit the status of refugees down to the second, third, and fourth generation. And again, in Gaza, it's very prevalent. Like a lot of the population are in the status of refugees as far as the UN concerned, and this body, UNRWA, is fueling it. Okay, so just put that in mind. Okay, this is it. That's the updates. If you have questions, I saw something written. Jeff is saying, in our own synagogue, these Shabbos and last, all the names of the hostages were read out loud. Amazing. On the upper, in the upper west side, of New York, every lamppost has the missing signs up, and many of the larger synagogues are placing the individuals' names and photos on available seats in the sanctuary. Jeff, thank you for sharing that. It's really amazing. I was not aware of that, but again, it's just goes to show you this whole idea of commemorating the names. I'm sure these names are being read already, but the initiative of each synagogue will have a name, will take care of a specific person. These is just initiatives that I want to share with you, and Jeff is adding more to that, so thank you very much. Again, this is another moment. If you guys want to ask any question, write it down, open the microphone, feel absolutely free. Okay, and I want to show you a few other things before we go to. I want to say a few words about my mother's story, but before that, I assume that you heard of the BLM Chicago Instagram, which is extremely hostile to Israel. And I went through this Instagram account, and just it's really bad. Okay, so stop the US-backed genocide against Gaza. The people of Gaza, for example, over here, the Palestinian baby, and all the rockets and bombs are aimed towards him. As you can see, it's really took the pro-Palestinian approach. Not this one, sorry. It was here. The Black Alliance for Peace condemns the murderous assault on occupied Palestine. October 12th, okay? Just unreal. Okay, so you get the picture. We talked about the situation in the campuses a little bit. I sent you on the WhatsApp group, Shai Davidai, an Israeli professor in, I think it was Columbia. I'm not sure whether it was NYU or, I think it was Columbia University. But anyway, it's on the WhatsApp group. I think you should take a look. He's really speaking. It's very dramatic. Okay. So I wanted to say, let's dedicate a few minutes for my mother's story. So my mother was born in Morocco in the 50s, mid 50s, and her family last name is Kabilo, which is a place somewhere near Madrid. It's from Albacete area. Albacete province is southeast of Madrid. Here, Albacete is the city, but the region is called Albacete. I'm not sure exactly how Spain is divided. Okay, I'm not expert on that, but I just know that the family is from Albacete area, southeast of Madrid, from perhaps a village that has had that name, Kabilo, which could be horseman or something of that sort. So this is again, Kabilo is my mother's last name. And the community, this Sephardic community, when we say Sephardic Jews, we refer to the Jews from Sepharad, which is Spain. Why exactly Sepharad in Hebrew is Spain? It's just it's a biblical name that refers to a place in somewhere in the vicinity of the land of Israel. But as the Jewish diaspora spreaded in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd century, then the Jews gave all kinds of biblical names to where they lived. A famous example is the Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenaz is the Rhineland, basically, in Germany. Yeah, so the Rhineland was called Ashkenaz by these Jews. But Ashkenaz is like the biblical Ashkenaz. It's a name. It's a name of a person. If I remember correctly, one of the descendants of Japhet. I'm not sure, but this way or the other, it's not the biblical Ashkenaz. Okay, it's just a name that the Jews gave to this land. So the same thing goes with Sfarad, the Sephardic Jews, and famously in 1492, the Jews of the Iberian Peninsula were expelled. And I want to say a word about something special about the Jews of Sfarad, of Spain. Unlike the Ashkenazi Jews that were marginalized for the most part by the hosting kings and duchesses, maybe financially they were allowed to, they got licensed to deal with all kinds of aspects of the economy, but all in all, they were marginalized. They were not allowed to purchase land in many cases. They were expelled multiple times during the medieval times. They were expelled, and they kind of kept it to themselves. And their shelter of the Ashkenazi Jews was the synagogue and the Bet Midrash, the yeshiva kind of. So the books and the synagogue, that was their shelter in a way. That's how they kept their identity. The Sephardic Jews were more involved, even in the government, even in the economic life, kind of like the Ashkenazi Jews, but less marginalized, I would say, because the Iberian Peninsula was under Muslim rule. So they were second-class citizens, of course. There were all kinds of limitations, but we have all kinds of important rabbis, like Maimonides, that was a doctor, Yehuda Levi, famous poet, Shmuel Anagid, Samuel the prince, you can say, which these guys were high up there. They were really with the kings and with the Muslim leaders. So in a way, the Sephardic Jews had didn't lose this biblical notion that the Jewish faith is involved with politics. Is involved with politics. There is no separation of the two. You should be involved in the real world, economic life, the army, the government, and be a scholar of the scriptures. Okay, at the same time, unlike the Ashkenazi Jews that were both much more marginalized and persecuted on the one hand, and at the same time. They were limiting their Jewish life to the scriptures. It was they kind of like the ghetto was their safe haven in a way. So they were not as involved in the government life, etc., etc. So the Sephardic Jews kind of like naturally had this open approach for the Zionist movement. The Zionist movement started in the 19th century. It was much more natural to them. I wanted to say another thing. In the Sephardic Jews lived under Muslims, which don't have this separation of religion and state. In Islam, there is no separation of religion and state. And in Europe, the Ashkenazi Jews had the influence of Christianity, which is separating religion and state. Of course, there's a lot of nuances. I know this is like a general. There's a lot of generalization that I do here, but I just want to bring up these 2 points. Okay. After saying that, as I said, once the Reconquista ended and the Jews were expelled, my family ended up in a tiny village called Gulmima. So let me just jump over there. Where is it? Gulmima. So it's a small town, small village. Today it's slightly bigger. When I showed my uncles that were in their teen years and some of them were in their 20s, when I showed them how it looks today, they said, "Oh, there's more houses for sure, but all the palm trees that I see here, they were really familiar with that, like this whole landscape of a lot of palm trees, the mountains, and this river that every now and then had floods." Okay, they have stories about that. Okay, so they really are familiar with. When I showed them during COVID, I took them on this virtual tour to their village, and they were like, "Ah, yes, that's not a lot changed. More houses, yes, but the rest looks kind of like how we left it." So from Gulmima, somewhere in early 60s, late 50s, the family moved to another place. So my grandfather was probably illiterate. He knew how to pray, of course, and he knew the commandments, but he was illiterate. He was a merchant, but he got married with an orphan woman, my grandmother, which was from Fez. Fez is a very famous city in Morocco. It's a city of a lot of rabbis, a lot of rabbinic, illuminators were in Fez, and the people of Fez, the Jews of Fez, kind of felt themselves, they were very proud people, right, because of this unique city. So it happened that my grandfather comes from, a very humble, tiny village, and my grandmother, although she was orphaned, she felt she's in a higher social status, but she was orphaned. So what can we do? She got married to my grandfather, and at some point they moved to the city of Meknes, which is not that far, as you can see. Fez and Meknes are not that far from each other in the hinterland. It's not by the coast like Rabat and Casablanca, okay? And what I'm going to show you is like, I actually think I had the actual house. I don't see it here. Anyway, I'll send you a video of where exactly they lived. It's a 5 minutes video. So in the early 60s, Mossad agents are basically coming to my grandfather, to Meknes, and they sit with the older brothers. And the Mossad agents tell them, "There's an opportunity, we can get you to Israel. Do you want to do that, or do you want to wait?" And there was a discussion going on, and they decided that they will leave to Israel. And at this point in time, the king of Morocco he was about to die. It was Muhammad V, and then Hassan II, his son, and they were pretty hostile to the idea that the Jews will leave to Israel. And one of the reasons is that the Arab League told the kings of Morocco, "Don't let the Jews leave because they joined the army in Israel. Just keep them there." So officially, let's say, they prevented the Jews from going. They were smuggled. So my family was smuggled. The Mossad agents basically told them to take a taxi, tell everyone that they're just going for some engagement party, and then another taxi, and then there was another truck from a place called Nador. It's a city in on the Mediterranean. From Nador, the truck took them to some coast, somewhere over here, north of Melilla or Melilla, okay, to the coastline, and from here there was a boat that took them to Melilla. Why Melilla is so important? It's not under Morocco. It's not Morocco. It's Spain. It's a Spanish enclave in Morocco, basically. So once they were smuggled into Melilla, they were out of Morocco. See? And from there was another ship that took them to, guess what? Spain. So they were left in Malaga, and in Malaga, sorry. And from Malaga, there was another vehicle that took them down to Gibraltar. And over here, they were waiting in Gibraltar for, I think, a week, but 1 week. Just jump over there. And after that 1 week, they were taken with a cruise ship to Israel. Now, I don't know if this would work. Let me see. The Google Earth kind of changed all kinds of settings, so I don't have it here, but you will be able to see that on the video that I will send you. There was a very famous photo of my family that was published worldwide, later in books in Israel. My family was standing here. I actually found the place where they were standing on Google Earth. And the reason I knew that they were standing here is because of these caves and this cliff over here, this hill. So I could tell that, yes, they were standing here. There was a British military camp over here at the time, in 1961. And they were waiting here for 1 week, and then the cruise ship took them to the land of Israel. So I wanted to point out one thing maybe about this, that the country that expelled the Sephardic Jews, and specifically my family, was Spain. And it happened that their way back to the land of Israel was Spain. I find it not to be a coincidence. In a way, in Hebrew we call it tikkun, like repairing or fixing or mending, correcting something. It's a tikkun. It's like as if the Jews, the Sephardic Jews that were expelled, are now going to be saved and find their way back to the land of Israel through the country that expelled them. So my family ended up in a small town in the Galilee called Hatzor. So that's a quick jump to Israel. Hatzor is in the Upper Galilee, not too far from the city of Tzfat. Tzfat is a very, very famous city in Israel for its the Kabbalist rabbis that lived here in the 16th century. So Tzfat it's a small town, it's a small city, but because of its very rich history and spiritual history, it's one of the holiest cities for the Jews in Israel. So you have Jerusalem and Hebron, and Tiberias and Tzfat. So don't miss it. So my family didn't live in Tzfat. They lived a bit like down here, somewhere where these trees are, a little further down over here, small town called Hatzor. So I will send you this video, and the story. I want to share that following Chris's question about the Jewish refugees from Arab countries. And I didn't know exactly how to approach it because there are so many details. So I thought I'll start speaking about it through just my family story. So there were about 200, more than 250,000 Jews in Morocco until the 50s, 60s, and today there are in the neighborhood of 2,000 or 3,000 Jews left there. They are protected, but it just goes to show you how many people just left and didn't want to live anymore under Muslim control, as a second-class citizens and all the rest. So as a whole, I would say that there are about 800,000 Jews that left Muslim countries, especially Arab countries, but all kinds of Muslim countries, including Iran, for example, Afghanistan, that are not Arab but Muslim. And today, in all these countries and throughout the Muslim world, you can really count, I don't know, I want to say, if I'm generous, it's probably 15 or 20,000 Jews, and I'm pretty generous. I think it's closer to 12 to 15,000 Jews throughout the Arab countries. And you should ask yourself, why is it like that? And you should also ask yourself how they were absorbed. None of them see themselves as refugees. There's no UN funded agency that supports me or my baby or my mother. None of that. Okay. But with the Palestinians, again, it's a different case. I just spoke about the UNRWA. What year? I guess you're asking what year they were smuggled. It's 1961. Paul, let me know that I answered your question. In 1961, my family came from Morocco. My mother was born in Morocco, but my father was born here, but his parents came from Yemen in the 1920s and 30s. Okay, so I'll probably make kind of like a series and bring it to you bit by bit, you know, the story of the Jews of the Islamic world. Okay, any questions at this point before the Bible study? Okay, so I want to move on to the next part. I created a quick virtual tour of the story that I want to share with you. How old was your mom on the trip? 6. 6 years old. My mother, and she had one sister that was born in Israel, and 7 brothers. It's a family of 9. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you is the Google Earth of the story of the war between David and the Amalekites. So this is Israel, of course. Let me just move forward. I'm taking you now to a place in Jerusalem today. Historically, it's not a part of Jerusalem, but today it's a part of Jerusalem. The hill of Shaul, Givat Shaul. Shaul is King Saul. So where we're standing right now, it's in the northern part of Jerusalem. If I'll zoom in here, the houses that you see here, this is kind of like the Jerusalem city center. And these houses is a Palestinian, not a Palestinian, sorry, it's an Arab neighborhood of Jerusalem. Mainly Arab Muslims, some are Christians. And the old city is like, after these buildings, after this neighborhood, you can actually get closer to the old city. So the hill that we're on right now, this is where King Shaul, King Saul, he reigned from here. Okay, so that's the terrain. That's how it looks like today. And all the content providers of Google Earth, like Mr. David over here, which I know in person, that's what's going on here. By the way, the building that you see here was supposed to be the palace of King Hussein of Jordan. He never finished his palace because of the 6-day war, just as an anecdote. But anyway, this is where King Shaul reigned from. As we know, King Shaul was very upset with David, not King David yet, but David, as David defeated Goliath the giant, and everyone praised David, and kind of like, you know, it made King Shaul, King Saul very angry. So what happened is that King Shaul, King Saul, was persecuting David. He really wanted to kill him. And the story goes that young David, fled to Gat. Okay, now Gat is a Philistine city. Okay, and not only that, it's a Philistine city, which are the enemies of Israel. It's the city where Goliath is from. The name of the king in this city is Achish, or the captain of the Philistines of this city is called Achish. And he comes to Achish, he pretends to be crazy, and then after all, basically Achish accepts him and says, okay, you'll be my servant. He's fleeing from King Saul. And as we're going to read later the verses, you'll see how the story goes. At the moment, I'm just giving you this overview. I want you to have the visuals of how things look like. So this is the city of Gath, the Philistine city of Gath. This is where Goliath is from. It's been dug extensively. I think it's Professor Biran, maybe I'm wrong, but there's a professor, pretty sure it's Biran, that is digging here, find fascinating artifacts from this and remains of the Philistine presence here. Let's take another angle. Okay. What I'm showing you again is the city of Goliath. Okay, that's the hill today. I know it looks just as there is nothing there, but the archaeologists did find a lot of indications that this is where the Philistines lived. They found some inscriptions over there, so that's how the terrain looks like. Sorry. Okay, that's the lowlands of Judea. Let's move on. Achish, the king of Gath, really trusted David at some point because David was raiding other Judean villages and cities and got a lot of spoil, I guess. He looted a lot and gave it to his new master. So he trusted him. And at some point, Achish gave him the city of Ziklag. It's a very strange name. It's probably not from Hebrew. Ziklag. And there are a few hills that are candidate of where Ziklag is. What I'm showing you now is near Kiryat Gat, which is not too far from Gaza already. Okay, you can see that it's in the southwest part of the Judean hills. And Ziklag was like the town of David and his 600 men. Okay, that's what you see over here. There's some archaeological excavation here. We found remains of the Philistines. So this is like, the way I see it, the leading candidate of where Ziklag is. So if you'll see, if you'll actually do the research, you'll probably see a few other names or hills that are candidate to be Ziklag, but I will go with this one. Okay, anyway, there's this moment in the Bible that the captains of the Philistine cities, they want to fight King Shaul and the people of Israel, the army of Israel, in the Gilboa mountain. That will be the battle in which King Saul will be killed. And David says, "Oh, you're fighting Saul? Okay, I'll go. I'll tag along." Other captains of the Philistines didn't trust David, so they told Achish, we don't want David here. And David had to go back. As he goes back, he learned that the Amalekites, which we'll talk about them, the Amalekites attacked Ziklag and captured the women, the children. They took them as war prisoners or hostages. Okay, if I using the terminology of our days. Okay, so once again we have Jerusalem. We have Gath, the city of Goliath, and Ziklag is not too far from Gath. And the Amalekites and a few other nations, a few other tribes are basically coming from the Negev desert, from this area, okay? And they're raiding villages, towns, cities, including Ziklag, and they're taking the booty basically back to their area, to the desert, okay? The area of the Bso and the land of Gal, this is where David will meet them in battle and will kill them. Okay, so just trying to give you the context. Okay, so just from what I just told you, it's supposed to resonate the stories that we have today. A tribe comes from the south, attack the Judean city of Ziklag, okay, of David, take hostages, take the booty, and go back to the desert. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to the presentation. Just check this. Right. Okay. I spoke about the Amalekites in the past, the nation, the tribe that attacked the children of Israel in the desert during the Exodus, attacked them from the back, like where the weakest people of the tribes of the children of Israel are. Okay, in the back. I mentioned that the tribe of Dan in the Exodus was in the back as well, which is considered to be like a lower tribe, the serpent. Okay, and now Amalek is attacking again. And in the last time I also mentioned that Amalek, the Amalekites, they are a very cruel tribe that represents pure evil. And usually they attack in moments of weakness. And the moments of weakness are when the children of Israel are in transition. Okay, they're not stable yet, they are in transition. So in the Exodus, the children of Israel are leaving the bondage of slavery, they're on their way to their promised land. Amalek is attacking. In this case, King Saul is basically is about to leave the scene. Okay, we learned that Samuel doesn't in the name of God. Okay, David is basically prophet Samuel in the name of God is basically telling him God doesn't desire you. That's what we're going to read. And David is not yet the king of Israel, so it's like a transitional moment. And in this transitional moment, Amalek is attacking. Okay. Later, it will happen again when Haman, which is a descendant of Agag, the king of the Amalekites. Haman, as the children of Israel are going back from Babylon to build the second temple, as they are in this transition, Haman wants to basically do Holocaust to the Jews in the Persian Empire. And that's again the Amalekites. They attack when the children of Israel are in transition, they are weak, they're not yet stabled, and that's the moment that they attack. So let's read this part. Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur. Shur is the road to Egypt. That's the land that I showed you earlier, the desert area near Gaza, near the eastern border of Egypt. Okay, eastern border of Egypt. That's Sinai area on the way to the Nile, so to the delta of the Nile. That's basically where they were fighting. He took Agag, King Saul took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. But Saul and the army spared Agag. For some reason, they were told to have this entire genocide. Don't leave any of the Amalekites, don't leave any of their livestock even, okay? But they spared the king, Agag, and they spared the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak, they totally destroyed. Okay, so instead of fulfilling the word of God and what prophet Samuel instructed King Saul, and instead of destroying Amalek, they left the king, they left the livestock. And this is the reason why Samuel basically told Saul, God doesn't desire you anymore. God will give the crown or something of that sort, will give the crown or give the kingdom to someone that is better than you. Okay, so that would be David. So the reason why King Saul and the dynasty from the tribe of Benjamin was could not continue, it's because they didn't fight pure evil with the necessary cruelty. Let's continue. Then we have David and Amalek. Achish trusted David and said to himself, he has become so obnoxious to his people because he's raiding their villages, the Israelites, that he will be my servant for life. You see, so Achish trusted David. David knew that he has to do something that will make Achish trust him, and he attacked Israeli cities, Judean cities, and that's how he gained his trust. Achish answered, I know that you have been as pleasing in my eyes as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the Philistine commanders, these captains, have said, he must not go up with us into battle. That's the battle I mentioned, the battle in Gilboa Mountain in the north against King Saul and the Israeli army. So again, Achish trusts David, the other captains of the Philistines don't, and therefore David cannot go to that battle. So he goes back. When David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. I can really relate to that. This is what's going on right now in Israel. We have our hostages in Gaza. People are crying and crying and weeping, but at some point they have no strength left to weep. David's two wives had been captured, Ahinoam from Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking of stoning him. So his leadership is completely collapsing right now. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. So again, I mentioned the criticism that is going on right now towards the government, the leadership of Israel. It's like, it's this story right now happening right in front of our eyes. Okay, but David, and this is also gives us hope, but David found strength in the Lord his God. So in these terrible times that we're facing, this pure evil of Hamas and the Palestinian terror groups, as we're just like David faced Amalek in these dark times, David found strength in the Lord his God. Okay, so this would be the solution. We'll just have to keep praying, keep believing, keep trusting God, and just like he saved David and his men and women and children from the Amalekites back then and got them back to Ziklag, I hope this will happen again. I believe that God will help us with it. But I just want to share with you the similarities that we have of our days and the story of David fighting the Amalekites. So this is it. How old was your mom on that trip? We talked about that, sorry. If you guys have any questions regarding that, that's really what I want to share with you today. And you're welcome. Feel free to open the microphone or write on the chat.
Itamar.
Yeah.
This is Donna Burke. I wanted to ask you, how do you see your Israeli government looking to the Lord for their help? That's one of the things you just mentioned as part of the story that you're comparing today to.
Okay, so I don't know what's in the hearts of the ministers and prime minister, okay, how faithful they are. The concept, I would say, in Judaism is that it's not just from the top down, it's also from bottom up. So the faith of the people also matters. So whether our prime minister, which is very secular, by the way, or his ministers more faithful or not, it's not necessarily depending on them. It's we should learn from David. He was the Messiah of God, and he trusted him, and that's, I think, what's mattered. And learning from our ancient history, that's something that we should also do. So I think that what I try to show you here is the similarities, and what we know from our history is that when God thinks that we didn't deal the right way with a certain situation, he just brings this situation again upon us so that we can learn from past mistakes and do it the right way this time. So I'm not saying that David did something wrong necessarily in this case, but I'm just saying, okay, we have this example, maybe we can implement it to our days today. Okay, just
Thank you.
yeah, welcome. When I'm feeling the gravity of this matter more and more keenly each day, Joanne is saying, Itamar, what Jews were able to live in Israel from 70 AD to the present day? It just different. So after the Great Revolt and definitely after the Bar Kokhba Revolt, Jews were not allowed to stay in Jerusalem and Judea, but they were allowed to stay in the Galilee. Okay, so the center of gravity of the Jewish leadership, the scholars, the rabbis, okay, moved mainly in the 2nd century from Jerusalem and Judea up north to the Galilee, and the Jewish, a lot of the Talmud was written, the Jerusalemite Talmud was actually written in Tiberias, written in the Galilee. The Mishnah was written in Tzipori, or anyway, the southern Galilee, between, let's say, Haifa area to the Sea of Galilee, that's where a lot of the rabbinic thought was actually written down. Mishnah and the Talmud, the Jerusalem Talmud, not the Babylonian Talmud. So that's up until somewhere in the 7th century. When the Muslims came, Jews still lived here for a few more centuries, but the economy of Israel under the Muslim leadership was bad, and many left during these centuries. Let's say the 7th, 8th, and 9th century. The country kind of like emptied himself, was empty, and when the Crusaders came to and conquered the land, they were massacred by the Crusaders, definitely in Jerusalem. And we have accounts that speaks about 4 Jews in Jerusalem under the Crusaders' kingdom, for example. 4 Jews. So all in all, that we're talking about in medieval times. We're not talking about big numbers of Jews. Anywhere between a few hundreds to a few thousands. We're not talking about the hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. In the beginning of the 20th century, for example, in the eve of the First World War, there were about 80,000 Jews all over the country. 80,000 or 85,000, and that includes some of the first waves of the Zionist immigrations to the land of Israel. So 85,000 again, then 1914, something like that. Okay, so I hope it answers your question, Jeff. How long will you know before you're called? Just bureaucracy. So, and again, it's not like I'm sent to Gaza or anything. I'll be in Jerusalem. Emily's saying, thank you so much. I enjoyed this session so much because you tie the scriptures to the past and what is happening today. Stay strong, stay safe. Thank you very much, Emily. Appreciate it. Anything else, my friends? Feel free. Express whatever is on your mind. Really, if you want me to close the recording, it's fine. So feel absolutely free.
This is Christy from Chicago.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm friends with Paul and Joyce. Quick question: what would be the best effective way for us to help Israel to show support? We met with Abe on Sunday, and he said maybe contact local synagogues or joining the support volunteer here in the United States. But I was not aware of the the message that was in Chicago, and thank you for sharing that. That was so very much against Israel. But should we take steps like that? What would you suggest to be like the best help that the people in Israel will feel that we support them?
Okay, so I have it on the description of the WhatsApp group. What I'm sending now, all these links are on the WhatsApp group too. These are organizations in Israel that if you want to support financially, you have all these links over here, you can check. I think that one of the difficult problems that Israel and the Jewish people are dealing with now is the rising of anti-Semitism, which was on the rise like for a while now, but every time the conflict in Israel is warming up and becoming more violent, then Jews in the diaspora are really feeling it. And if you have Jewish friends or you know Jewish communities around, then strengthening them and helping them and speaking for them and pushing your representatives wherever you are to protect the Jewish minority, specifically in your case in America, but they are being targeted. And I follow the statistics, and just more and more hate crimes are conducted against Jews in Europe and in America. And some of it comes from the right, some of it comes from the left, some of it comes from the Islamists, etc. So reach out to these communities and ask them directly. I think this is the best thing you can do, because if you want to help the Jewish communities near you, that's probably the right way to do it. And as I said, we need our allies vocal, I would say, right now in the face of evil. This whole propaganda that is going on, this whole symmetry that is being that the Palestinians do, that we killed 14,000 people, but they already killed I don't know, I think there are already 4,000 or 5,000 casualties in Gaza right now. So that's it. Let's have ceasefire. This is nonsense. The level of threat. I mean, there will be no life, a peaceful life in Israel, unless Hamas is eradicated and uprooted. So you cannot have functioning society. You cannot have families. You won't raise your children next to these barbarians that just want to kill us in the most horrific way. I mean, how can a person raise his children in the Negev desert or other parts of the country? It's just unheard of. So all this symmetry, all this propaganda that is being pushed by the Palestinians, and I'm not happy that civilians are being killed, but again, you have to put in mind who's in charge of them, how the level of incitement and brain and indoctrination, and how much the actual society is brainwashed, the level of cooperation of the Palestinians with these terror groups, the civilians with these terror groups. Okay, they allowed all this to happen. The rocket launchers are in their living rooms, in their schools, in their hospitals. So and I mentioned it yesterday. I mean, maybe you weren't yesterday, but Hamas, unlike other leaders of the Palestinians, Yasser Arafat is like coming from outside. It was a bit strange. He was an authentic leader of the Palestinians, but I'm just saying he was kind of pushed from out. He's from Egypt. In the case of Hamas, it's a grassroots a leadership that actually reflects the sentiment of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank voted for Hamas in 2006. They wanted them in. They wanted someone to do the battle against Israel. They wanted someone to push forward the resistance against Israel. So maybe I assume there are Gazans that are not happy with the atrocities. I assume there are a few people that didn't forget they are humans and created in the image of God, but they were celebrating. So again, this propaganda that is being pushed is dangerous to Israel, not just because of the threat to Jews around the world, but it also could turn the leadership of civilized countries against Israel, saying there's too much pressure in my country that you'll stop, you'll get ceasefire. And if Israel doesn't have the right amount of time to eliminate Hamas and eliminate that threat, then we'll just have another draw. We cannot really win this war, and we'll just have another round of violence. So it's just prolonging really the suffering of Jews, by the way, and Palestinians, if we won't finish what we should do. So this is again what I would say to support us, to support communities where you are. I give you the links for donations if you're interested, and to mainly understand that your representatives, if they will get a call from you, if they will get an email from you that says we are standing with Israel, we're standing with the Jewish people, we want to hear from you. What are you going to do in order to protect them, in order to give, to allow Israel to make sure this threat is removed? I mean, no democracy could survive this level of threat. I mean, there are countries that don't really care about human lives, but no democracy with our ethos of well-being and could survive these atrocities. Unless we remove this threat, it will be unlivable country. Okay, what else is going on? I hope I answered your question, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's for me, what I'm really upset, it's if any Israeli group, for example, and they never did that, if they would do what Hamas just did, entering a different country and basically killing innocents, if Israel would do the same thing in any Arab country, the entire world will just jump on them, and it's mind-boggling that the international community, for me, are not taking a very strong stand to eliminate this kind of, like you said, you cannot raise children, you cannot live next to people whose life's mission is to wipe out Israel. That's just people are unaware of the threat. They put an equal sign between that and human rights and all kind of things, that it's just propaganda. So thank you so much for your answer. Thank you.
Okay, I hope it helped, and thank you very much for joining. Paul is informing us about a campaign that should be done, I guess, or letting us know about this campaign. Yeah. Again, I will talk, if not tomorrow, then somewhere this week, about the leaders that the Palestinians are happy that they had. The Mufti Haj Amin al-Husseini and Yasser Arafat and Abu Mazen at the moment, Hamas, with one exception called Salam Fayyad. I will talk about him again, if not tomorrow, then somewhere this week. They are choosing leaders that really reflects their sentiment, their national sentiment. So, sometimes people say, if there was no elections, okay, how do you know that they are really reflecting the public opinion? Okay, that's our Western thinking. It's not, I can't rule that out, that they don't reflect it, but the Arab world has its own rules. I mean, how they not necessarily choose, but how they relate to their leadership and what type of leadership they're looking for. So this is again some very interesting topic that I'll touch. Okay, so thank you very much. Again, we're starting with a prayer and we're ending with a Bible study, and it all goes for those who are kidnapped. That the study that we did, the learning the living Word of God, will give our pleading basically to God through the studying and through the prayer will support those who are kidnapped. God will send His angels to protect them. God will comfort the families of those who lost their dear ones and protect our soldiers. So thank you very much again, and I hope to meet you tomorrow, same time. And if you have any other questions, then in the group chat is closed, but you can always send me messages directly. And that's it. Very happy that you tuned in. So thank you very much.
Thank you again, Itamar. Stay safe.
You
Give
too.
Tabor a hug from us.
Ah, I will.
Bye-bye.
All the best for now. Thank you.